We are Fan Consulting. My name is Zuhaib Kazi. This is Elizabeth Francis, Vincent Lum, and Elia Nam. For our presentation tonight, we're going to give the issues that Best Buy is currently facing today, followed by our executive summary, Best Buy's current strategy and financial performance, their competition, followed by a SWOT analysis, different alternatives Best Buy can pursue, followed by our recommendation, the implementation of that idea, as well as financial data to support that recommendation, followed by our conclusion. Some of the issues that Best Buy is currently facing today is that in its most recent fiscal year, they incurred a net loss of $1.2 billion that contributed to declining operating profit margins. One of the reasons why that they have been struggling is because of this big box service store model that we believe is failing because of the presence of online retailers such as Amazon. This has created very little growth in the industry for Best Buy, and it's created a stagnant market share for them. We also believe that Best Buy has roughly 4,308 inefficient stores that could be utilized much, much better. A brief overview of our recommendation is that we believe that if Best Buy stays with its retail-based service model, they'll have a very, very poor outlook in the future. We encourage Best Buy to embrace its showroom dynamic and turn one of its perceived weaknesses into a solution, into one of its strengths. This is a very bold and radical idea, but we do believe that it can be a transition that's very smooth for Best Buy into the future. We believe that Best Buy can transition itself into a service-based business model. Best Buy wants to tell its consumers to think of them as the #1 company in the consumer electronic industry. One way that they've done this is by the continuous development of Best Buy Mobile, and they've done this through the acquisition of Carphone Warehouse for approximately $1.3 billion. Which has shown the continuous shift toward mobile computing for Best Buy. They've cut roughly $800 million in costs based on the closings of 50 big box stores, which has downsized the company by roughly 10%. I'll give the floor to Elizabeth Francis, who's going to go over how the company's strategy has impacted the financial performance.
Thank you very much. So, the recent financial performance of Best Buy through 2011 to 2012 has been less than ideal. Sales only rose by 1%, while operating profits and net income fell. So, why does Best Buy struggle? Amazon.com is Best Buy's main competitor. Basically, they have no sales tax for their customers. The nature of their business model essentially has a low-cost structure and high margins. They've recently had an attack on the big box retailers with their price matching app and the price slashing, and they've had significant and continued revenue growth. Now, moving on to the SWOT analysis, Best Buy has many strengths. For example, the existing infrastructure in the store within the store format. Magnolia in the UK and Best Buy Mobile in the US. The market share is at 25%, and Geek Squad is essentially your cash cow. Unfortunately, there are some weaknesses. Again, the company has not been profitable, and there's been stagnant growth in the recent financials. You have a high cost structure compared to your competitors. And based on recent Best Buy research, consumers have a negative perception of superstores in general. And lastly, international operations have been failing. To continue with the SWOT analysis, there are threats. You have Amazon and Walmart, obviously your main competition. There have been discount wars, again, price slashing, especially during holiday seasons, which have essentially undercut your prices and your margins. The industry in itself has a very elastic demand, as electronics are a luxury item, they're not a necessity. Fortunately, you have many opportunities. First of all would be to embrace your showroom dynamic and to turn that negative into a positive. Secondly, would be to become the leader in the tech service sector. And lastly, work with your competition and not against them. There are several alternatives you have. First of all would be to embrace your status quo. Basically, don't make any radical moves and rely on macroeconomic improvement. Bargaining power of buyers has been increasing. This could be an opportunity to work with your suppliers and get better prices for your customers. The second alternative would be to embrace your austerity. Basically, just focus on your bottom line. Unfortunately, this would include cutting costs, laying off employees, and closing more stores. Essentially, this would not be sustainable and it would dilute your company image. And our third alternative and our recommendation is to take a proactive approach into a bold but smooth transition to a service firm. Basically, a services firm. So embrace your showroom, turn your showroom into a solution, not a weakness, and work with your competition. And I'll pass this on to Vinny to go over the recommendations.
Thank you, Elizabeth, and good evening. I'll be providing more insight into our three-stage recommendation and its implementation. For phase one, we plan to continue to close off criteria-specific stores, the main criteria being revenue. Sell off the remaining inventory in those stores, as well as reorganize the Geek Squad. In phase two, we want to contact consumer electronic manufacturers and form exclusive service contracts with these companies. We want to utilize our property space in the remaining location and create a showroom setting. Ultimately, in phase three, we want to deviate from the failing current retail model and rebrand into a service-based business. So phase one, Best Buy will be cleaning house. They're going to close and sell off the locations that do not meet average metro revenues and or are too geographically close to each other, but definitely retain the profitable Best Buy stores as they are indicators of responsive markets. Continuing with the closing of your stores, we want to lay off unsolicited sales associates and staff, as well as liquidate the remaining inventory in those stores. While Best Buy is phasing out, we recommend implementing a 2-year Geek Squad training program for the remaining staff, in which we train them to be more knowledgeable in tech and customer support, as well as improve on their sales support. Phase 2, Best Buy will have a bold transition. The 3 pillars of our proposal is the showroom, the core competencies, and the nemesis. These are all perceived weaknesses of Best Buy, but we believe if we embrace these weaknesses, we can turn them into the solution. I'll pass it off to Ellie to elaborate more on this.
Thank you. So the first pillar of this proposal of ours would be to embrace the showroom. Turn the weakness of Best Buy into an asset, into a strength. How can we get our margins back up? How can the company become profitable again? So we look at the showroom and what has been taken advantage of Best Buy. Price matching apps by Amazon, discount wars, cutting costs. These things haven't worked. These things are killing slowly Best Buy, and in the near future the outlook is very bleak. So how can we spin this around? We want to have Best Buy create a service model in which they focus on their core competencies, the Geek Squad, and things we'll talk about in just a few slides. In doing so, we're going to have Best Buy contract manufacturers of electronic goods, have exclusive service deals, the HPs, the Samsungs, the Dells, take their service component, their tech support, and outsource it to Geek Squad. Something Geek Squad can be very proficient, have very specialized in such a thing. Examples here, we're talking about other startups, Netflix, Redbox. They don't have an in-store presence. They don't have a presence within the store, and this is going into my next point, leasing floor space. This isn't just all of a sudden we're giving up the retail component of Best Buy. It's a transition into which ownership of retail will transition to another company. Yet retaining the same model, Best Buy is a hub of all innovation in consumer electronics. For example, as I was mentioning Netflix and Redbox, now they have an in-store presence. They'll be leasing space from us. They'll have a point of sale for subscriptions. People no longer have to go online if they're not comfortable. They would rather have a Q&A with the sales associate. Now they can come into Best Buy, a hub, a center, be comfortable, sign up for a subscription, and it just is another foothold and an attractive opportunity for a company such as Netflix and Amazon, as well as other retail, consumer good electronics, and retailers alike. This would provide a steady flow of revenue, being leased, having floor space leased, as well as our service contracts. And it's really important to notice that we're leaving the old model, but we're not giving up on what we know. Best Buy as a whole knows how to manage retail, the industry, and it has done for many years now. So in doing so, it still has its foothold in it, but there's less inventory or carrying costs, and it's less sensitive to economic cycles. I'll now hand it off to Vinny to talk about the showroom.
Thank you. This is the inspiration for our showroom model. With Geek Squad at its centerpiece, and surrounding it are companies such as Samsung, Microsoft, Netflix, and so on. When customers enter a Best Buy store, they can expect to receive personal on-hand support from any one of our available knowledgeable staff. When the staff is taking care of their products, the customer can enjoy the showroom of the latest and most innovative products offered by these companies. The second pillar is our core competencies. What Best Buy has to offer to these companies that want a physical presence in our store include our expertise in inventory management, logistics, sales, our distribution channels, as well as Geek Squad. These are all barriers for these companies to expand into the retail sector, but we can offer these as a service for these companies, and we can attract prospective contracts. These can also be additional sources of revenue for us. I'll pass it off to Ellie.
Lastly, we want to talk about Amazon, our so-called nemesis. We want to embrace Amazon and foster a symbiotic relationship. No longer do we want to compete head-to-head with Amazon, going for the retail service sector. For the consumer electronics retail industry. We want to kind of create our own industry, a service industry, a hybrid of service and retail. We want to work with Amazon, in which we can offer them floor space in our stores, perhaps for free. Process customer returns for Amazon, which I'm sure are prevalent. Arrange tech support for the Kindle, an Amazon product, which I'm sure has its moments of needing support. And that would be something that Best Buy and Amazon could look into in the future. Incentives for both. Best Buy would kind of be stepping aside from Amazon to take control of the industry. This is in favor of Amazon. They've just grown 50% revenue-wise, and now have asserted themselves as the leading model, the online retail market, online retail model. So for Best Buy, we have this partner. We can foster this relationship with such a company, and it would strive to have incentives and create a synergy for both companies going forward. Our last phase, rebranding. We want the people to know that Best Buy is no longer that humongous retail conglomerate. It's now an innovative hub where you can buy Geek Squad in the showroom, have other retail companies lease our floor space, become a comfortable setting for the average consumer, the average person that might not be comfortable purchasing over the internet. Amazon customers are more than welcome to come in and use Geek Squad, and we'll touch upon all the benefits that are provided with the financials in the following slide. So, as you can see, the service contracts have a 8.75% projected growth rate. By 2016, we hope Best Buy to be bringing in just under $9 billion in revenue. Leasing floor space we believe to be a very steady projected source of revenue at $2 billion. These are all can be asked upon further with our financials and the appendix, and we'd like to take the time in a little bit to talk about that if you have questions. So in concluding our presentation, we want to really get home to the point that Best Buy has this weakness. This has been attacked by Amazon, especially with the price matching app. Best Buy needs to spin that into a positive and embrace their showroom dynamic, embrace their core competencies, because they are a retail giant. They know how the business works. This is something that can be used as a positive, more so than a negative. The competition needs to be friendly. And going forward, we believe this is a bold, yet a very smooth transition, in which Best Buy can become the leader in its own market, working alongside with its competitors, such as Amazon. Thank you very much for listening. We'd like to take any questions that the board may have.
Intriguing concept about partnering with Amazon, our greatest competitor. Can you drill down a little bit on the numbers? You're providing free floor space. Has Amazon historically had issues with consumer returns?
Yes, let me continue to our slides here. So regarding floor space, we have average Best Buy floor space of all Best Buy stores are being 36,000 square feet, and we project to rent 75% of that floor space. Having said, with the Amazon being free, that is a proposal of ours. Whether we negotiate some sort of contract, this is an incentive for them to kind of join, come along for our inspiration, kind of working together. Whether it's for free or not, that's just a proposal, but these are the numbers that actually show the revenue coming from the leasing the floor space. And we believe that each floor every store can bring in about $1 billion per year. That being, with 2,000 remaining stores, when we talk about closing and cutting costs, we came up with this projected amount. So we have about $2 billion in revenue coming from that. And can you repeat the second part of your question, please?
This, you did identify that one of the weaknesses of Amazon has been their consumer returns process.
Okay, sure. Yes. Part of any large company, especially Amazon, the return of goods is always going to be an exuberant amount of percentage. We couldn't find the financial disclosures on that from Amazon, but we do believe it's pretty high, within 20%, 15-20%, especially electronic goods. We hope that we could foster a relationship in which we could manage those returns and hopefully, be charging them a contract fee for these kind of services. Thank you very much for the question, by the way.
Certainly.
So Amazon is really on top of this market right now. Why would they be incented to partner?
Thank you for your question. That's a really good point. Well, actually, we do have the largest market share in consumer electronic goods. This way, Best Buy is in a standstill at this point, and Amazon wants to increase their market share. Instead of going head-to-head with our biggest competitor, going with this model, we're going to be transitioning away from the retail sector. So Amazon will have a greater market share in that aspect. And if we foster a symbiotic relationship, I feel like this could be a very beneficial relationship for both parties.
So should we be looking at some kind of a more formal relationship, a merger or acquisition?
We haven't divulged too much into that merger or acquisition, but we believe a formal partnership in some sort could be the way to go in the foreseeable future. Later on, perhaps maybe a merger acquisition or some sort of funding together would be definitely plausible. But we believe in the near future to take baby steps and to try to get them on our side of things, and to understand that they will have this physical presence with this within the Best Buy hub. They will have Best Buy, which is their main competitor in the consumer electronics market, kind of step to the side and let them take the reins. That these are incentives we believe are enough to foster this relationship. Whether we go in the long-term future, we don't know yet, but we're working towards the immediate future.
If I'm Amazon and I have floor space in Best Buy, what does that do to my sales tax structure?
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question, please?
Yes, if I'm Amazon and I don't pay sales tax now, but I go to Best Buy, I partner with Best Buy, what does that do to my sales tax structure?
Yes, that is a great question. Granted, yes, bringing in a physical presence, Amazon, into a Best Buy store will have to pay the sales tax for the services, but we believe the benefit provided to the customers with a hassle-free experience rather than trying to talk on the phone with someone who doesn't really understand what you're talking about would be a lot better of an experience for Amazon customers, and I really think they would appreciate that, and that would really generate more business for Amazon.
But the follow-up is I'm still going to have an online presence. So how am I going to know if the consumer is buying it online or buying it at a Best Buy location? Whether they have to pay sales tax if it's a Best Buy location, correct?
So as we mentioned before, Best Buy can provide services for additional fees, logistical, inventory, distribution channels, things that Best Buy is really good at. So why not take care of that for Amazon? Why not, if something's bought at an Amazon store within Best Buy can take care of those logistics. Amazon can possibly, they're paying different percentages of the sales tax. It can lower the cost of the good in the physical presence, have different prices online or the physical store. Things of this nature that could be discussed with Amazon. Nothing set in stone at the moment, but these are definitely ways to go here. And as I said before, Best Buy has its core competencies. It knows how to handle these things, whether they're bought on Amazon or Best Buy. But I feel that Best Buy can provide that service.
Since we started the Geek Squad, the sales and the contributions to operating margins have been pretty much stagnant. They haven't moved over the past 5-6 years. Yet you want to spend a bundle of money in retraining and changing the Geek Squad. How's that going to contribute to my earnings in the future, and can we really afford to do that?
Yes, we believe we can, and we've looked up the margins for Geek Squad out of Best Buy. Best Buy does not disclose their separation between Best Buy and Geek Squad, but research analysis has shown that Geek Squad is between 40 and 50% profit margin, while the rest of the big box retail business is only 25%. We show sales here at $3 billion with an operating margin of 50%. We believe if we can increase that, we can control a larger margin. And we do think that the transition costs for training all these employees, for the layoffs, for all these costs in this transition phase, that they would be rather small compared to getting rid of the entire retail business in general. It's a transition. We believe that it's cost effective, and in the long term will actually increase your profits.
Where is our customer in terms of the product life cycle? What customers are we targeting?
We're definitely looking for the lower middle class type of consumers. We actually have a graph of an increase in average consumer spending. As you can see, from 2008 and 2009 there was a huge slump, but from 2010 moving onward, there has been an increase in consumer spending, and we feel like we should definitely ride this trend. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. Are we in the early adopter, or are we towards the end of the product life cycle?
Definitely, I feel like we should be in the early adopters, as we are creating this hub of the latest innovation. We are definitely creating a new service niche, and I feel like we are going to be the innovators, if I may say. We will be the showcase of the latest innovative products, and consumers will be coming to our stores to receive that look into what consumer electronics has to offer.
One follow-up. If we're in the low to middle income, are our consumers really going to pay the additional money for the service contracts and the offerings of the Geek Squad?
Sorry, thank you. And I'm sorry if we didn't make our point clear in our presentation, but this is a free service for customers who own products from brands that have contracts with us. The service contracts are made between us, from Best Buy, and the tech companies. This is a free service for the customers themselves.
So for your own products, you're going to continue to offer those consumer protections